所见，阿姐
这个常年地被昨天比
做了本身三界做过了说三界确当做的，讲究好多当年就做了本身三界做过了说三界确当错的，讲究好多当年就所见，大家去见这边做呢，做了本身三界做过了说大家谈嘎的嘎的，把它送嘎的我的说。大洋堂嘎的嘎的，巴拉嘎的，巴拉松嘎的，我的说哈，大洋堂嘎的嘎的，巴拉松嘎的，我的说哈。Light on better, please. This light also, please. This one in the corner, one lighted. Corner inside, altar, under the altar. You put under the altar. No, not correct. Under the altar. All right, that's good. Yeah. Maybe this one also open over there. Oh, thank you. Very good. Well, that's 심지어 탐제가도 톱잘하나 마셔봐 산지에 공부를 보자 진행주 토바자 아니 뒤에도 아니 가서라다 장주선배 랍장 최초도 냥 나와래 신고를 신발을 틀고 토를 되지쇼 말로 가지고도 가서 봐봐야 되네 계속 좀 보시와라 제가 준주가 되는 대시 좀 있는 게 있어도 공부자.
And so we begin with our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the purest state of enlightenment, knowing that to attain that state, we must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. In order to do that, indeed, we need to have a good knowledge of what those particular trainings are, and we must gain this knowledge through learning from an unmistaken source. And so it is with this in mind this morning that we have the opportunity to hear some verses from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, composed by the great master Shantideva.
다 간자 남진의 등에들 먼저 자지게 검대 TV 지게 면서 어다지 공부하셔야지 하나랑 게 등에 난칼라 아니 탑결라 투제치부터 뭐라는 게 진짜 자벨라마 이벌 나봐 또 마셔자 두바치 셋업 랑게 타고도 진짜 막게 심지어는 마성만 나봐요 선서 공부하자.
And as normal, then we begin with our meditative visualization to visualize in the space in front the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, who is in essence our own guru. He is the compassionate, skilled in means. He is seated in the Vajra posture, one face, two hands, and we are also surrounded by all kind mother sentient beings.
아니 된대게 랑게 가서 되나 세대베 라마 투가 온 것이 아니 지원 점바 투가 혼 이게 좀 세다 아니 이게 투가 혼들에 왜세 빠도 매버 전에 신라전 내에 시바 원라的제가 젠잖아 이 시바 라마 투가 온 나바 젠다 팀 아니 가서래 원래 온거 출라바 지도 미기가 우견 되는 거 어떻게 좀 봐셔.
That the figure that we are visualizing in front is marked at the crown by an Om, at the throat by an A, and at the heart by a Hong syllable. From the Hong syllable at the heart, light rays emanate going out into the pure realms, inviting the wisdom beings and empowering deities from their abodes. The wisdom beings dissolve into the central figure, and the empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown, producing spontaneously the figure of actual being.
아니 저 가서래 아니 저 랑게 다 가서 전주고 슝대 아니 가서래다 가자 저 남년지에게 다 남년 다 타치 봐 용에게 저상고서 타치 봐 용에게 저도 아니 가서래 야라도 면대도 저 앞에 초사 디바차에 들대체 어디래체 안다가 하던도 아니 저 가서래 심지가 동에 나서라 삼었다네 아니 니제게 대동의 교대 저거 전에 집으로 저거 주제 저거 쇼지 저거 다리 지금 대다 저는 몰라면 투명하고 지금라도 순대잖아요. 투명걸로 왜잖아. 두시는 거 왜서셔가 귀인판에 통할 때 거기 개발도 엔데데 로정 것이 있냐면 저상부서 취재 제투배 개견세 통제 저거 야고 싶은 좀 어디를 고마셔도 야고 이거 어디는 자.
So the text that we are studying is the Bodhisattva's way of life, and that in order to be able to practice that in a very effective, perfect way, in other words, to really integrate fully all of what is involved in the text, that we can, through our studying, through the process of contemplation, and ultimately through the process of meditation, gaining all those wisdom, all that wisdom, we make offerings of the mandala, the 7 limb practices, the processes of purification of negativity and obstacle, and accumulation of positive energy, positive merit. And so we think how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had free of the suffering and the cause of suffering. May this be the case. I would be the one to be able to do so for a deity. Please bless me to be able to do this. And so, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and the causes of happiness, etc. We make these supplications, and we visualize the light rays emanating from the figure in front down through our crowns, and on the one hand purifying all obstacles and negativities that are obscuring our being able to understand the true import of the instructions within the Bodhisattva way of life, and more especially it is enabling us to be able to really gain the full understanding so that we can integrate it into our lives.
Voilà. 어떤데 저 다가제 셈젤라 동에 나서를 미세베 닌체체 아니 동길 세다베 라마투베 오베 구송투고 연대 제시병을 다외다와 인식했다고 뭔도가 되와 나야 아니 베셈제 탐제거든도 너무 투베 오베 고바타면 치마로 토베체도다 이것서 준주고 숑지 년기 예서 어떤데 고로 다 계속 개발점을 하냐 뭐 생기체 어떤지
And that in contemplating the suffering of sentient beings, all the sentient beings surrounding us, we develop the mind of compassion. And in contemplating the qualities of body, speech, and mind of the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha in front of us, we develop the faith of aspiration, pure faith, and a faith of conviction. And that here we make that a special kind of determination to really do whatever I possibly can. I mean, really see that there is no alternative for me but to attain that state of enlightenment in order to truly benefit sentient beings, to relieve all the suffering. And so this is the special intensive motivation of bodhicitta that I generate prior to listening to the teaching from this text, the Bodhisattva's way of life. So I have a little bit of an obstacle myself here, I think.
Camera to Sharwa.
Ah, so the camera.
You didn't have a habit. Not much.
Again, yeah, different technology today. So he's got an actual camera set up in front.
And my bad behavior is my body quite moving, yeah? Maybe someone watching get dizzy.
The dangers of attending the teaching, you get dizzy.
Kabbalista.
Shukran di gyata nishu zaku wogi chiktigana niba.
Hola.
Shentang Joe la Gujola, Kanamatoa la Mesa.
Lasso. Hola, sta casa zamdela mashuya ro. Da subject la cosa da niba shenda drobe kunju kanamato mebasa. Mebala kebacho. Ngachen ro ta ka de re ta ka kanamato sa ka so de ta ka de 카나마다 라제 카나마도 봐 제베 카나마도 왔은 거예요. 왔다. 제베 카나마도 왔을 때다 산제게 제바 우르와다 제바 제는 왔다 된데 지금 디 제나 아니 네바 된데 용그래 아니 디 맞잖아. 또 야고 열어서 왔다가라 켈링이에서 켈렌 쉬네다. 도발레 이제 좀 제베 카나마도 라제가노 도바 유멜라마도 봐 수이 제바 있네. 네바 용하더라 라제 카나마도 베나 소 제바 있나 도바 유메 계자마 수이네 네바 용거로 봐. 다 된다 소체면서 켈링게 들라 아니와니 용거다 라신 하나마도 녀와 요거자 제가 제가 하나마도 라신 제가 하나마도 녀와 제 용거로 봐 왔다네 자다 간자 하나마도 왔어 라신 하나마도 제가 하나마도 어디서 니 용되고 여러 어제도 가서 최 켈레메다 개개 말 마비시나 술에는 녀와 용거래 얘네 다 최 켈레 도마 켈링게 제마는 아니 녀와시는 녀와 니 용거로 라신 하나마는 마비시나 라신 하나마도 녀와지다 제가 하나마도 라신 제나가다 봐 제가 하나마도 녀와지 용거로 왔다 됐으래 어때네 인자 어때네 인데다 간자자 니와 현다 조베 군조라 하나마도 봐 하나마도 봐라 켜봐라 딱 하나마도 봐 라신 하나마도 봐 이네 제가 하나마도 봐 되는 니가라 아니 교마쇼에 켜봐지고 스타디 교쇼와나 아니 가서 다 가자데 녀와종은 다 디바사기로 왔대 가서나 라라 동네 용거 동네 요나 샬라 페버 뚝뚝 말와 왔다 동네 교를 유튜브로 왔대 숨고요 왔대 전 왔대 샤바자와라 nga자 펜바르 마와라 지다자와 펜바르 마와라 지다자와 덴바르 마와라 지다자와 손남 제발라 지다자 생계 윤대 죄베서 지다자와 생가와자베 페유노스 페유 생가와자 자베 페유이노스 저거도 nga자 어쩌죠.
And so we had halted at a particular outline last week. This is the second main outline. And it states that how we need to become expert at avoiding fault when we are accompanying others, when we are with others. Now, this has the particular term here for fault is kind of like a part of two main categories of this kind of fault. There's a naturally occurring fault, and there is a fault due to being prescribed by the Buddha himself through the Buddha's own analysis, seeing that such a thing was not helpful, not beneficial, then created a vow that those who followed his path had to abide by. And so these are known as the naturally occurring faults, and those faults as prescribed by the Buddha. So naturally occurring faults would be something like killing, murder or killing. And so everybody can see that that is incorrect, that is wrong. And so it's a naturally occurring thing. It doesn't have, you don't have to take a vow to avoid such an action because you have common sense to say that it's not good to kill. However, if you have taken a vow to avoid killing and then you engage in the act of killing, then you've got two faults. You've got the fault of the naturally occurring fault that you have you contravened, and that you also have the fault of breaking the vow. And so in this particular context, it's referring to both of these, where we need to really avoid all fault, whether we have taken on a particular behavior as a vow, to avoid particular behavior as a vow, but it is a fault. And so this outline is very clear because it's saying that also to become really gain expertise at avoiding all fault is important, because fault, of course, is negativity. When we have it on our mind stream, that's going to lead to suffering, and that immediately is going to compromise our ability to benefit others, which is the main point. So therefore, we have to be really kind of become expert at avoiding such fault. So this has 5 subheadings. The first of these is how to engage in beneficial speech. Secondly, how to engage in truthful speech. Thirdly, how to engage in meritorious action. Fourthly, how to engage when we are engaged in proclaiming the benefits or the qualities of others, the good qualities of others. And fifthly, the benefits of pleasing others.
다데네 가사데 어디레지는 다 간제 당부터 펜바 마와라 지다 차와서 와 펜바 마와라 지다 차와서 자 지다 차와서 샬라 셴구 뎁체시 마저 빠야 제 마저 펜바 제베나 나 그베 지볼랑게데 따도 군제 로마르 큐르스.
And so the first of these, how to engage in beneficial speech. So this verse is verse number 74, which states, with respect, I should gratefully accept unsought after words that are of benefit and that wisely advise and admonish me, and at all times be the pupil of everyone.
di kapdu pashi chana ta shen la shen gu de bala shen gyawa la choye ta shen gyawa kompe do choye tende tap kebo yugen kansa soke watarwa ane so gyawa la chowa tsewa la keba ten soke rangi majo soso la tende ke rewa meba ina majo yang ta la penpa chewe nga mene soso la penpa chewe pento cheye ke nga kasa ta chik penpa tende mawa chuna gashindo gube chibo lawa ki desu 당도 내네 안 될래야 가 소소 시부지 인도도 nga제다 되게 연구를 하자 나도 디 시부지 그거 지기도 딩가를 연대 지기도 어떤가 시부지 해서 어떤데 매받잖아 던져 소소 개와 공배도 줘야 쳐도 된대게 주주 야고도 라바이나 야고도 공배도 줘야 쳐도 아니 지 가서도 딱 가자 지 된대게 리듬에 토네 아니 킹스 매봐 다도 편벌 마와 군지 로마 주 어떤데 셀라 편바 주근게 가사 수이마 대다 군제배 아니 지금 문에 단내게 제도 쇼서다 대대게 가서도 연대 주세게 주세게 유 로마 주네 로마 주와 아니 지금 있어 제도가 지금 제도가 제고래서 어떤데
So this verse refers to an occasion when one is being advised or admonished by another who is doing so using skillful means in order to, it's a virtuous activity on their part, and they have a degree of expertise in what they do. Now this is unsought for correction or admonishment on your part, but it is in words that are used in order to benefit. So the correct response from our point of view is to really accept what is being said gratefully and with respect, and to really don't take the attitude that, oh, how dare they, I have I'm a person of quality, how dare they pinpoint something there that I don't think I have, but rather to really put aside any arrogance or pride and to really accept what is being said as something which is beneficial. It's in order to increase our own virtue. That's the motivation behind the ones who are doing this, who are admonishing us. And therefore, we should really treat everybody as if we were a pupil, as if we were a student of theirs.
나 파마 탑 개바 가셔 지기도 부고 야고 영화에 쳐도 부고 그 준비 제바도 어디 야고 쉬고 지기도 같아서 부고 샘주 발주에다 지기도 탑 개보죠 파마 탑 개바 가셔 어디 빼고 쳤어 쟤는 아니 부고 딜레 야드 줘야 좀 물어 왔다 되게 탑 개바게 지금 탑 개백이 어디 다 딜레 연대 줘봐 있나 아니 소소디 연대도 양 고코는 소소 인도도 맞아 봤잖아 아니 돈데 야드 줘야게 아니 근데 야고도 랍도 그게 아니 기부 담바서 관계게 아니 야고도 슬라베게 로마 교토와치 송도와 어딘데 자다가 양고 삼성하고 녀몽 깨는데 지 연대전 내가 케베지 주에 인사를 나를 또래 당게도 그것도 하시면 근데 녀몽 전화 줘야 또 연구도 어다 근데 많이 봤잖아요 많이 봤잖아요 돈도 연대 공부도 줘야게 다 아니 근데 그 랍겐게 아니 제가 연대 줘서 유도 교토야지 what the nigga, and that touch it, Chibura what the Chimbata. Did Nomonga, Nomongo Yudo Mandwatch, Nomonga Kendo Mandwatch, Nomon do it to dredge.
And so, with a child, when the child does good, the parents are often very good at this kind of skillful means of really praising that instance of good behavior. It's in order to instill this kind of habit in the child to repeat such good behavior and to kind of give them a good upbringing in that sense. So, and this is the kind of the side of the praise. From the point of view of a teacher kind of criticizing a student, it can be two particular motivations. One is that it's a genuine fault that they need to eradicate in order to really benefit themselves and that benefit others more importantly. But also, they would say, like in a case where if I praise this person, it might increase their level of arrogance or pride. And so that might not be the case here. So it's kind of like here, the idea is that to increase the capacity of the student for virtue, and more pointedly, to really subdue their tendency towards mental affliction. And this is why such advice may be given.
The Sing Yende Chong and Yende Jeva Dilatene and Range, Tonde Yende compared to Toy, Tonde the Nomo Shawa to Montoya. Nomo Shawa to Montoya, and Nomo do again to get a total. What are they say?
So to increase the capacity for good quality and beneficial action, and to reduce the control of the mental affliction and to really subdue mental affliction.
I can tell you, Lojong Jordan Kanga, another Lojong Jordan Kanga, I can tell you, Nature countries table as Sanda Yan, Nature countries to a in the same do a Euro charging a trottoir jet. Same do a charging a trottoir. Nomongi Beju Mandroache. Nomon do a Beju trottoir.
So indeed, this is the very essence of all mind training, isn't it? To prepare ourselves for whatever arises, be it a good or a bad incident, and that in either case, we must not lose control of the mind, and to make sure that we have that mind subdued, and particularly that we have a lock put on any possibility of mental affliction arising.
Order. Taniba, Temper Mawala. This one. Niba Dember Mawa, Temper Mawala, Chita Chawani, Niba Dember Mawala, Chita Chawani, Zawale, Leber Mawa, Tamjala, Kiawa Sunsia, Jober Chasa.
And so the second of these 5 subheadings was what to do when the truth is spoken. The first half of verse 75, I should say, well said to all those who speak Dharma well. Dembetsik Leba Mawa Tamjala, Kiawa Sunso, she Jober Chawas. That what the Kanja did you get Chishu the Kasana was Simja Tamjala Jamba that Zawa the Ninjeta. What I get to Yovaina, Gerala Nova Kiavaina, never let a pepper to be in something. And it's the legend Chicas never let a pepper to be in something. And it's Simjan la pepper to be a tea. Simjan la pepper to be a tea, Takanja, Rashi Nigage, and that don't till a catch watch. Never the more to go Jimbaina, and it because of the Takaja Dembala Demba in but more to go. Dimena, Rangi Gasaga Chola, and Demba Chena or Demba Chikitu Samsa. Rangi Magasa Chola, Demba the Yabu Chikita Yabu Mawaina, the Yabu Mare. In the
칭달라 야고다고도 네 백그라운드 두자 요레싱 소리지 아다지 용되거다 그래서 나라도 소소 저 가서 창당을 저 사도 아니 그 대방문에 대 통해 매봐 찾고도 아니 소소 가사 뭐게 대바 통해 대바 이메 가서 소소 가가 유에 좀 생게 대바 통해 지어 봐요 좋아 다 되네 임바 인사 뭐 이거 내저 통해라 다저 가서 창당게 로이 상황도 같이 숙청아 여봐 있나 이것은 뭐 이거 내저 통해라 니바 차도와
So this is an interesting point. It really translates as, when truthful words are spoken, then we reply, oh, that's virtuously said. We can kind of like reply like that. But it's extremely important that we have this understanding towards all sentient beings. So it is really important that our levels of love and kindness, compassion, and empathy are very much to the fore in this particular instance, and to understand that we must kind of eradicate any influence of attachment or aversion in any situation like that, because it's so easily to kind of say, oh, we're talking with somebody who we like, and even though they speak untruly, we can accept that as the truth and say, oh, well said, well done. Whereas if somebody we're speaking to we dislike, they can even be speaking the truth, but we accept that and say, no, that can't be right. They are not speaking the truth. So we can see how heavily our attitudes are affected by our attachment and our aversion. And so it's very, very important that we are able to distinguish what is true and what is not true. And it really depends on the degree to which we are infected by attachment and aversion when we're listening.
뭐이게 내주 통해라 객지기도 같이 대바지 샤바네 소소 막아나 칭디 대바 잡고 도와서 이나야 디 백그라운드 야고 여기 말했어 야고 여기 말했어 같이 지금 소소 로이 좋다잖아 미 봐줘도 삼로도 연하면 하고 요 말도 소소 좋다네 아니 소소 남주 여바 잡고 소리잖아 용되기도 용되고 다되네 해서 뭐이게 내주 통투에게 라라 아니 지금 견차디 매바 소고도 견차디 가서 착당할 때는 용되기도 와. 다디 숙초도 당해. 아니 셰럽그 누바디 숙체도 당해지. 숙체도 당고지. 와다 되는 것도 안 되는 요도 아니 저게 덴베 칙마와들 와다 덴바서 야고 송소스 야고 라우소스 랑라 누바케게 이나다 페바 주에 가야 켜봐 요 말에 와다 덴바 송와들 덴바 송소스 셰토겠지. 셰토에게다 누바 유겐지. 거기도 와. 누바 유겐지. 누바 유겐지 중국도 와.
So without a very genuine, sincere attitude when we're listening, we can often have an obstacle to being able to see the truth. Like if for someone that we don't particularly like or we have an issue with, that they may be speaking beautifully and well and truthfully, and we might think in ourselves, oh yeah, it seems what they say is true, but I know their background is not so good. And so this distrust is kind of coming in. And it really is an impingement on our even intelligence to be able to tell the truth from untruth and so on. And so it's kind of like important for us to maintain this focus on actuality and to kind of be able to be prepared to even criticize our own self for our own kind of discriminating attitudes when we're listening, that we haven't given that speaker our full sincere attention, to be able to really see and be able to really, the game is really to be able to increase our level of wisdom through listening and to be able to recognize immediately when somebody is speaking the truth to say, yes, well said, good.
Suba Sona Javala, and Chida Javata, Sonam Chicken Caso de Takiwa to Genjovan Dilla, and Samatana Kristan was Sotra, Suba Sona Javala, Chida Chawane, Zawale, Sona Java, Tonjona, Debe Levan Kawaki.
And so the third of these 5 subheadings was what to do in the event of meritorious action. The second half of verse number 75 states, and if I see someone doing good, I should praise him and be well pleased.
Rally Gutadeva, and a Kunjos on the Chobala Sobata, Chobala Sobata, Shella Chibatan, Wada, Pebatobata, and a Tarnish in Nebalda, and a Jig, I can go out and there, like, when I can yourself of what you took in Kansata, Tamil Mabudua, Check killing it, check him, maling it, not so to Nala, Miss Sambo de Mabu Gudua. What I did, Sona Java Tonjona, and Musso, Debes, that thing was in it, Debachi Kuga to the and Leva Kawaketa, what are the legend or Javada Yawu Shuja lesson and was a chick so Jesu Iranche Kawake. And it was
so this is a case where we see somebody who is engaging in genuine virtuous action. They are making offerings to the triple gem, for example, and see them engaging in meritorious action like that. It could be that they are being very generous, or they're really assisting those who are sick or those who are very old, in any instance like that. And it doesn't matter who they are, whether they are accepting of a spiritual tradition or not is irrelevant. It's the fact that they are engaging in good action. Then we should be very, immediate and quick to praise and say, well done, that's beautiful, a really beautiful thing to do. And to really enjoy that, I mean, gain some pleasure out of that from ourselves and rejoice in another's virtue.
What did it? What did they some Tamjag there is Chetuna, Chimaro, Chetuba Shose, what in the Combashi, what I can check the legend, any bear, Jesse, what are they good at against you and a chile? Got you, Lord Chos of Malo, Chimbana, got Jesu Chetu. Lord Chos Long and Jesu Chetu Madua. Jesu Iran Singate, and Roapenangarato, Soso Yamu, then a Soso Casa Chige, and Jawa Yawa and a Jesu Chetable. Soso Maga Sige, and Chige, Jesu Iran, that Jawa Lapchumbo de Yabush to one or Takas racing story, Takaja, Dile, Kinju Chias Mento, and Jesu Che, the Dos Kabudua. That is so called Chakatanga Lodi, what good Chigidua. And Jesu Iran singing the best Jawa Lapchumbo to get. And then how do Nageta, Chado, Dendegi, and it's near what you should get much a little. Get much a little. Get much what are they getting Chicago there? Shebe tone, that Shingi Lewe Chachigan Kangala, and Chicago also the Koran Yende Chuna, Kukapuna, Yende, and Rangate Jesu Yacha. My guess, some time to take the Tuna, Chimaro to a show, something what the nigga did the Jesu, Chetu, Chico, what the Risha.
And so in this case here, like when we see an instance of benefit or meritorious action towards others, and again, to really recognize that, acknowledge that, and honor it. And also to, from our point of view, to say, oh, how wonderful if all sentient beings could receive benefit in that way. And to, when we rejoice, to not be casual about it, because the practice of rejoicing is extremely powerful and very, very important. And we can tell by our own experience too, just how sincere our rejoicing can be. You know, when we have somebody we like and we see them doing something good, it's very easy for us to rejoice in their merit, isn't it? But if it's somebody we dislike and they do something good, it's kind of there's some sort of catch in our full-blooded rejoicing. It's kind of going, well, you know, that's not much. But what they're doing is not really that impressive. And so we kind of immediately compromise the good that they are doing. And so this, again, the influence of attachment on the one side, aversion on the other side are involved. Our rejoicing should be clear of all that. It should be really kind of fully fledged and really spontaneous and really kind of open and full-hearted response, because it's not only a great, wonderful, meritorious action in itself to rejoice in another's benefit, but also it's an extremely powerful antidote to pride on the one hand and jealousy on the other.
我的理解，他感觉这这个的我来做这个南就我来做了这个告诉的这个先给这个告诉的他这个告诉的偏把主编给到叫我主编给那时候我就通的要的我就从这那边说着原来呢把面sem见一般呢说是这告诉的这我每他这我每个说了他上那个这我每个见吧呢可那边的 다 개와 랍청 버지나 쉬부쉬부 떠나요 말이야. 아니 소소게 저기 저와 야고 요게 저는 어다데 제수이라 때인데 용도 가버려. 아니 소소 저와 야고 매게 저는 될 가서 제수이라 파션 될 차도 게 나게게 돼 용되게 용되기도 용되게 다들 네가 녀몽게 아니 튕겨라 돌아지기도 다들 녀몽을 튕겨라 뭐 저는 개개를 돌아지지 녀몽을 튕겨라 말 녀몽을 개개 돌아지자 다가는 저거 딜 개와 생게 주와다 랑게 제수이라 잖아 랑이라 개와 랍청부터 사도고 있어 조선 가야 매매 돈에 개와 랍청부터 사도고 요바 있어 뭐다지 가서데 디 겹상데 렌토가 지고를 숨고 요봐 맞아 개와 주야 그거 먹고 요래 그거 먹고 요다 다디 그거 약수지 안 네가 될 가서 딜 때는 딜 때는 아니 녀모 먹고 고 캐줘야다 아니 딜 때는 조선 가야 매매 돈에 개와 랍청부터 두야 아니 다가는 이제 차도하다 된대게 알 가서데 다지 녀부 줘야 뭐다들 랍청부 줘봐 인사 어디 개청부 지난 거 도와 하고 되는데
And so this is something that we need to really contemplate a great deal more deeply, because from our point of view, when we look at others engaging in good actions, and especially those who are neutral to us, for whom we have no special connection, they could be engaging in multifarious beneficial actions, but we pay no attention to that altogether. They just kind of go right through, and we don't give them any attention whatsoever. And then on the other hand, for those we have a good connection with, yes, it's convenient for us to rejoice in their virtue. And for those who we have a bad connection with, then it's convenient for us to diss their virtue and possibly immediately open the door to jealousy or arrogance towards them. And so this is something that we need to really clean up, because the practice of rejoicing is so powerful, not only for, as we pointed, not only for accumulating really powerful virtue, but also counteracting the tendency or the instances of jealousy and pride. And so it's kind of like we say, here is an opportunity to not give an opportunity to mental affliction, to not allow this particular situation to be a conducive kind of condition for mental affliction, but rather to create a complete obstacle to any chance of the door opening for mental affliction. And so in that instance, it's really worth, including the practice of rejoicing, something that is kind of part and parcel of every day. And so it's kind of really wonderful to see how we can use something like rejoicing as a great benefit, a great profit to our practice. And that indeed, to really see a great deal more opportunities out there, not just for, rejoicing in the virtue done by those who we have a good connection, but especially for those who we don't have a good connection. And also especially for those who are neutral to us, who we often ignore. And so it's kind of like, there's a lot more opportunity out there that we should be taking.
그래. 보다 가서 다다디 라므림다 디즈나로 수온 것도 제수이란데 아니베 저 제수이란 개와 두긴 가사를 제수이란 제원데 개와들 제수이란 랑래 똑바 토바 지바이는 안디 개와 샤가들랑 터버렸어. 랑래 저가자데 똑바 냐바 지바이는 아니 지바 시장 터버렸어. 아니 랑래 아니 저거 가서데 똑바 마와지는 아니 랑디 다다 저거다 다블로드 탑그랬어. 그래서 송구도와 다들 송에도 어다지 시부지게 가서 개와 납치부 주변에 유견데 먼저 때 고급대 심마도 봐이나 아니 대한 경험치래도 와 경험치래도 와.
So, as it says in the graduated path teachings, that if you are of higher realization than the one in whom you are rejoicing, you receive half as much merit again for your just simple act of rejoicing in their virtue. If you are on a par with the person who is engaging in virtue and you rejoice, you receive the same merit as they do for the action that they have done. If you are lower in realization to the one who is doing the virtue, you receive half of the virtue that they receive for your act of rejoicing. And so it's kind of saying a no-brainer. We really have to really push ourselves to take advantage of this great opportunity to accumulate virtue.
어디도 어디데 저라 랜데 켈링게이나 어디 랜데 켈렘바디 어디 랜데 케벤데 죽투바치고도 케벤 주문은 아 랜데 켈링게에서 팬도부도 랜데 켈레 녀몬드에 줄치는 가지고.
And so this is in the context of course, accepting the law of cause and effect, and it goes without saying. It's a no-brainer then. So if you accept the law of cause and effect, then you have to kind of adjust your attitude to there. If you don't accept the law of cause and effect, then there's no point in this discussion.
맞다 가서 디스코 말다 가서 랜데 케말레는 디스코 신고 말다 바다 딱 랜데 켈레네 아니 케벤드가 좀 맞도 봐이나 케벤드 랜데 켈레 안데레 캡상 용에도 소저 좀 맞도 봐이나 랜데 켈레는 것은 좀 맞도 봐.
Okay.
근데 단다 저저 랜데 켈레는 수이네 죽고자 내가 딜할 때는 녀몽 계급도 와 녀몽 계는 막이 받차기도 와 아니 개와 켈링게 매바 있나야 가서 제소이나 제바이나 차도 계급도 와 차도 막이나 차도데 동네 임바데 나서 집어지잖아 최 켈레메 계자요 말이야.
So then saying if we accept the law of cause and effect, then we have to look into the kind of profits and merits, the benefits of accepting the law of cause and effect. And this is like one of them, the practice of rejoicing, saying here that because you accept the law of cause and effect, this is available to you. This great kind of a process of accumulating virtue is available to you, and so this is important.
아니 랜데 케말레 마이나 제소이나 제와이나 녀모 계급도 녀모데 랜데 켈레메 계데말 최 켈레메 계자요 말에 아니 녀모 계나 기부문도 와 나제다 차도 계나 기부문도 와 다딜 제소이나 제도나 나제다 차도 기부문도 와 디마게나 어다 고에 들어와.
And also it's kind of like even in common sense that if we don't accept the law of cause and effect, or even if we don't accept the Dharma, to rejoice it's a plus. It's a win-win situation. You're in a happy state of mind, and also you're not allowing any jealousy or pride to arise, because we know for our own experience that when we are jealous, when we are proud, it's not a happy state of mind, is it? So you kind of like you're avoiding that suffering as well as that mental affliction.
그래도 그 콘도다 먼저 콘도다 아니 지 세단다 되는 게도 동에 이마데 뭐처거로 와 되고 동에 앞에는 가서 지금 사야 통해다 대사다 그나 기부 쉬우지요는 간다서는 저 차도지 깨워서는 그 기부 되게 되네 철거문도 와 막이바 차은 것도 와 최 켈레메 계자요 말와.
And so like when we, it's again common sense that when there's anger in the mind, when there's hatred in the mind, when there's jealousy in the mind like that, we recognize these states as suffering states, that, it's going to have an impact on eating, just our living. If we're in our own house and we're kind of like consumed by jealousy, there's no peace of mind in that instance, is there? We don't need to, accept the Dharma to know that.
어디서 뒤 쫓아보소 어디 뒤 쫓아오래 다시 어제 제수이라 제 어제 되는 시바 신게 연계 죄배세 지다 잡아들어 봐.
네.
와. 어제 신게 연대 죄배세 아니 지다 잡아자. zawale kona yende cheche yende chena chesu jo rangi yende chena de yokosa yende sheba riba chasa.
The fourth of these subheadings was how to go about what to do when we proclaim the good qualities of others. So verse number 76. I should discreetly talk about the good qualities of others and repeat those that others recount. If my own good qualities are spoken about, I should just know and be aware that I have them.
다 간제 지금 다 강사가 생게 연된 전화 아니 저거 강사되게 아니 저거 콜 강사되 메사 유라 아니 연대 죄토바 제치 그 먼저 처음从강사가 되려 년보셰 아니 강사데 메서나 미디 메서나 아니 잡로라 아니 카타에 중거와 디 멤버자 연대니 다 가자제 되려 있는데 잡라 임바다 니가 도나 아니 연대 죄토바 제치 연대 죄토바 제치 或者这，是吧？那过呢，过度开发些个，你原来去把这开发，他个在咱们来把，这刚才输赢把赢呢，刚才输赢把赢呢，的原来的刚才的对了有把赢呢，你绝对把这，你对了没把赢呢，你刚才这个原来这个的写图把这呢，原来绝把赢呢，你差多的真是没把，真是没把这呢，但是呢，像我打的原来是大事，要不是大事，或者。 아니 제수 줘봐 자식 어디다 줘도 받지 그랬어 자식사 다야 간사 현 저거 소소를 연대 줘봐이나 소소 되는 줘봐이나 거는 줘봐이나 연대 줘봐이나 대대비 연대랑라 지 가서대 아니 여봐이나 여봐대 아니 시야봤잖아 어디 어당을 연대 된데도 연대대 다 sem제실라 편도바 지기 인스페주 땅도바 지기 인스 아니 연대 단다 연대 줘대대 아니 가서다 다 같이 코에 윤대소로 다 직대매 윤대소로 가서다 지금 어디를 스타디 가서다 타바다 탐색점에 윤대를 유튜브 찍이 있었다 어디를 안에 들라 지금 나제다 어떤 걸 쉬지 유도도 나제다 어떤 많이 봤잖아 디 윤대의 샘쟁이 되는데 페바도 왔지 샘쟁이 튕겨를 자도 봐디 단다 별로 직대 뒤나가 소설다 윤대 가래 윤대데 타바다 탐색점에 줄을 두도 봤지 나게게 다 가서다 상관도 맞아 나게 뒤에 줄을 두도 했지 어디 지도 봤지 그래서 저것이 뭐지
And so in this particular case here, it's how to correctly praise another for their good actions. Above all, we must be very careful to not be, really deceitful, so that, when the person is right in front of us, we're speaking very sweetly to them, kind of like extolling their good qualities. But when they're gone, and then behind their back, we're criticizing them. This is completely wrong, completely insincere. And so here is the case here, that where we see somebody engaging in something good, then we discreetly praise their good quality, and that make a point of doing this as sincerely as we possibly can, and that and it means that it doesn't matter who they are, whether they are a practitioner or not. It's whoever is involved, engaged in something really good like that, whether they're doing it or saying it, that we rejoice in that, and we praise their good action, and we make the distinction from our point of view now, say, oh, may I be able to engage in such that worldly quality, that good quality myself, may it become a quality that leads to liberation and the omniscient state of life. And particularly when we are engaged in acknowledging the good actions of others, that we do so completely free of jealousy, completely free of the competitive mind. So in a way, this is again acting as an antidote to these particular mental afflictions. And so we kind of go, oh yes, And then when somebody else is, praising another, repeating something, we go, oh yes, I agree. They are really good for doing that. That's really wonderful what they're doing. So we repeat the praise that we hear from another. And that's really good as well. And when it comes to somebody else praising us, then we simply acknowledge that if that is true, that is the case. That's fine. And we do so without any hint of arrogance or pride. That's very, very important. And again, from our point of view, there's a silent aspiration that the quality that they are praising, it may become something, it's a worldly thing now, may it become a cause for liberation of the initial state of enlightenment. And most of all, to facilitate my ability to be able to benefit other sentient beings, and to and particularly subdue any arrogance or pride. So you kind of turn the tables on what is possible in a situation like that, and increase the efficacy of what they are praising.
연대도 여바이는 연대도 못네 아니 디 지금 연대 디 아니 지 가서데 지금 나겔 귤 맞지 맞잖아 나게 매버잖아 심제 샬 펜버토에 로다 펜토에 로다 펜토에 귤 뭐지다 아니 단다 그 연대데 타바다 탐제 캠베 그 연대 걸 귤도 얘기 아니 귤 줘봤지 아니 연대 줘봐 내시 연대 뭐도 다 연대도 소소 가거도 다 연대 이번 거 줘도 내가 연대도 줍투 얘기 줍투 얘기야 배준지에 중국으로 와 배준지에 중국으로 와 왔다 들으잖아 같이 지금 소소 연대 디가서데 데레기 두 얘기야 지금 튼제 가르샤 개전 가르샤 되게 튼제 두 개전 세네 연대도 줍투에 아니 연대야 타보다 탐제 개별 줄로 줘 콘도다 세당다 데레기 뭐를 뭐 주었잖아 왔다 두다 간제다 내가 지금 가서도 타도는 심제 탐제 근도 산제 고마 주에게 튼제를 배주 당도 같이 튼제를 배주 당도 같이 왔다가 지에다 링게도 왔다 되는지 맞잖아 가장 알아도 지금 라생의 상황도 좀 셈용모배 상황도 좀 사도 아니 가르쳐다 탑쳐봐지 맞잖아 근데 저는 용모도 고통고 쉬우지 용고도 와 저라 연대 문도스 견제 제바 이나는 야 녀몽 고급 저거도 야 저라 연대 도스라바는 야 녀몽 고급 저도 되니 니가 연대 고급을 가서 녀몽게 아니 튕겨라 친자네 아니 제 타와다 탐지김이 계획제 되기도 와 아니 코에 동에 나소와 녀의 유튜브도 저 되기도 와 근데 좀 봐요 다 간제 지금 내당 근데 지금 봐이네 내당 근데 지금 봐이네 다 간제 저 가서데 저 가서데 녀몽 두네 타바다 탐제 캠에 줄을 줘도 와다 가르쳐 구도 따에 들으셔 저 중국 제바도나 야고도 라네 녀몽 줄을 줘도 아 독자도 라네 다 녀몽 줄을 줘 되기도 되니 네가 녀몽 줄을 친도 라는 기변에 봐 찾아도
So initially, then, of course, in a situation like this where somebody is praising you for a good quality, what's the first thing we need to do? Analyze, look inside to see whether what they are saying does it correspond with the truth or not? Do I really have that quality? And so it's kind of like saying here again, to be able to do that analysis without any sense of pride, without any involvement of pride at all, just to be kind of very clear about it in one's analysis. To say, okay, honestly, if I have that quality, then immediately to go, okay, that's good. May I be able to use this to benefit sentient beings? Ask the question, how will this quality help others? And to be able to, how can I increase this quality so that it becomes a cause for liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment? It's kind of, because this is, of course, always the ultimate goal, to be able to use whatever good quality you have to increase them more and more and more, so that it becomes a kind of an enlightened quality. for us. And if we do that analysis and we don't find that quality, to be just as honest about it as well, and to be clear, no, what they are saying, well-intentioned, thank you very much, but I really don't have such quality. But I recognize that's a good quality, and I will make every effort to make your words true and to develop and cultivate that quality for myself. That means I have to look into it to see what are the conducive conditions for generating and cultivating that quality, and what are the inconducive conditions that I must abandon that might interfere with the cultivation of that quality. And so again, the end result, because I keep my mind on the prize here, is the liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment. I must use every conducive condition to be able to achieve that. And so this is an instance of this. I'm getting some sort of a reminder about what good qualities I should generate again, and also to make sure that mental affliction has no part to play in this analysis, because if it's so, there's really nothing I can do, and like we have to move away from this kind of tendency that we may have, like when we're criticized, we become angry at that criticism, and so allow mental affliction to take over. If we are praised, we become arrogant about the good qualities, and again allow mental affliction to take over. It's kind of like really very, very important that we really kind of steer clear of those kinds of extremes, and to be able to look on whatever the situation is, to really check, is there any mental affliction at play here? Am I deceiving myself in any way in my analysis? So if we are kind of really reacting to the good things that are said with arrogance or pride, and the bad things with resentment and anger, then there's nothing but loss in it for us. That's the way we have to look at it. There's nothing but loss for us in all that. So we've got to steer clear of mental affliction at all costs.
기부 담바다 기부 담바 많이 봐서 녀모고 샤와도 전에 기부 담바 말해 녀모도 샤와도 맞전에 기부 담바래 기부 담바 많이 봐서 근데 녀모도 샤와도 좀 아주 샤워로
So a good being, a holy being, is kind of like, it isn't so just because they're designated as such. A holy being is a holy being because it really, whether they are a holy being or not, depends on if they are under the influence of mental affliction or not. If you have control over mental affliction completely, then you are a holy being, you're a good practitioner. If you're not, then you don't. You're not a holy being.
명체조 명토를 아니 저가서 티토를 되게 계좌 말해. 가봐 여봐이네. 내단 근데 저기 내 여봐이네. 강사들 너무 상황도 주고 매봐이나. 명 홀리빙의 명이 연나 많이 나디 가서 된 다음에 홀리빙 차대었다. 기부 담바 차대어라. 다 명첨부 미 용조 기부 담바에 나와 있네. 강사들 너무 상황도 줘다는 기부 된 다음에 기부 담바 말해. 다 기부 담바 임베서 너무 상황도 좀 뭐지 샤워로.
So it's kind of like, name or reputation or position or how high your throne is, it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. And that if you are any kind of person who is completely free of mental affliction, has control over your own mental afflictions, then you are a holy being. If you are somebody who is kind of like going around with a big reputation or a big name, but you have no control over your mental afflictions, then you're not a holy being, and you can't ever be until you do that.
그래 어디래 기부 담바 이메데 거저 명체조다 저거 그래 다들 내 이메 인사 거저 가서래 저 가서래 군조다 된 담바 샤초사로 와 군조배 거는 디 기부 담바리야 삼삼지 강가 기부 담바리야 쓰기도 삼삼 된 담배 거는 기부 담에 와 차대가 용거라 녀몽의 생활도 되나 다 가제 저 차대가 와 다 가제 저 기부 담바 문에 이메데 녀몽의 생활도 주고도 주고도 어때 와다 녀몽의 생활도 주고 매봐이나 민 가야 매겐지 직전에 스틸로 홈레스 가야 매건 좁고 짐바 이나야 기부 담바 차대었다. 너무 샤워도 주고 분들아.
So it's not a matter of conventional or ultimate kind of interpretation. Simply saying is that if you have the person with the highest name, the highest position, but that they are under the influence of mental affliction, and they can't ever be what's referred to as a holy being. But on the other hand, if you have somebody who is free of mental affliction and they are completely, the most wretched, poverty-stricken being on the streets, then they are a holy being. This is the demarcation point.
너무 샤워도 좀 먼저, 너무도 샤워도 좀 먼저. 티토메 계자 말 너무 샤워도 좀 먼저 계자. 어때들? 안 뒤에서 뒤다 수인의 줍토에서도 투토보다 명체보다 거기에 좀 대보지 말아. 다 이나야 너무 샤워도 먼저 라라와도 가. 미셔버 서포트 문도와. 야 명체보다 미 서포트 거와. 야 미 서포트 거고면도 와. 랑게 라왕의 돈에 주비에도 와.
So whether one is under the influence of mental affliction or not, this is really what it's all about. And that when it comes to that, then when we realize that too, it's clear that we or whoever has the ability to reach that point of having no influence from the mental afflictions. In other words, to have control over those mental afflictions. We don't need to have that high position, be that so-called big reputation. We have the capacity, the power in our own hands to be able to reach that point of being free from the influence of mental afflictions.
Nobody needs support. Yeah.
We don't need any support.
Shema mangochi support go support man to be your money. What are this support go rangi jetuya rangi lakwal to what are the and not so in a kibu tambara cover your wa. Oh, the kibu tambarida so sem never chigre teleguba chigre chigrawata. Then I kibu tamba chai cougar to chigriwa. What a kibu tambas cut oh no which I want the maduach and kibu tambaris. What am I doing to my chickens?
And so, yes, we don't need to depend on any other to be able to do this job. It's in our own hands. And what's more, that who is the holy being? When we have completely eradicated our mental afflictions, then we are that holy being ourselves. And that's imminently possible for us.
What Tani goes to the Tani Nomo Shawama Nomo on the Tutubaja, Tani Gunchagio. That the lemon Nomo down the level, Tani Dachagiorwa. Shabachi switch up to your master. Change a switch up to Jos, switch up the Jugures. That just Rani Rangi, Ran Nomo Shawanta Matuna, Rani Rank up to the Rani Ran, did they chaval Rani Ran Gunchavas? That Rani Tani Tag is that Ran Nomo Shawan, Nomo do it all much, and Nomo Shawan to Joanna, Tani Tag Giant is. What did it?
And so the Buddha himself pointed this out, very crystal clear. He said, you are your own protector. You are your own enemy. And so it's kind of saying you are your own protector if you have control over your mental affliction. You don't allow mental affliction to hold sway over your mind and over your thinking, and then you are the one protecting yourself. And that's clean, clear. On the other hand, if you are allowing your mental afflictions to make your decisions for you, kind of like really inform your actions, then you are your own enemy. You're creating the causes for your own suffering. So you're your own worst enemy. And so it's kind of saying again that the choice is there for yourself. Say, do you want to be your own protector or do you want to be your own enemy?
What did it? That did it. To get any Keta John, who you can need to get the Shimbe Tone, and Tachi Ran Shoga Yalam Mania Pagata, Nimachik Tendeka Rota, Sudu Nishu Subshaded. And to the Rocasa, the Sudu Nishu Subshading the Kadis Chekosade, and to that Kadis Chekore, Tower Kadis Chekore, Local Chekore, and Mizichi Kadis Chekosades. 다 메시지도 다다 제도는 아니고 체럽 봐도 쓴다. 그다 다다 방식 틱톡으로 와. 방 뒤에 돼 그래서 가서데 가서 추주래나 방 뒤고 저래도 와. 추주 찍네. 아니 추주 니슈잡시 추주 니슈잡시네 준자네 다와네 로네다 거기 산게 고마마도 봐도 그 방식 뒤에도 와. 그래도 와.
So this is the process to be able to increase what are kind of meritorious actions, profitable ways of being, and at the same time to eradicate, to really extricate all of that which is going to be a loss for us, that is counterproductive to what we really want to do, want to be. And this requires this process of really, really closely, mindfully examining all our actions from the moment we get up in the morning till we go to bed at night, and to kind of look at, say, take your life one day at a time, 24-hour period, where you're going, what is it that I need to do in terms of using my body, using my speech, using my mind? What are the actions I must engage in and avoid? What are the words and the speech I must engage in and avoid? What are the thoughts I need to engage in and avoid? And to see, what it is I need to abandon to be able to lead the best possible 24 hours that I can. We take it in kind of bite-sized pieces like that. Then we can increase it to look and say, okay, let's move it up to 7 days, a full week of my behavior with that close mindfulness. And then to increase that to a month, increase that to a year, and then be able to look into how that can be carried on until we attain the state of enlightenment.
아니 단데 네가 되는가 지금 라시 니가 개변 유견질도 로중고 코스다 라시 니가 개변 유견지 대야 저 거서데 저 거서데 내가 개변 유게 풀을 개변 매긴 되게 거서데 지게로 얼티피셜 되는 말이야 뭐는 내가 레 펜도 유게 풀에 펜도가 때도 되게 유견지 아 딜레 랑가 셴매견지 다들도 다들자 다들 지금 너무 고추되다 말아서 공부 매번 이제 또 갈래 여기 있다 이내 코로나 잡다 처마 여봐 인상 남시나 아니 공부 참여도 배도 이거지 그 가서는 지금 가서도 지금 가서도 잡다 처마 여봐 인상 아니 그 참여도 배도 여기 줘봐 인상 그 남시나 갈래 매봐지 창을 다다 모두 공부 매봐 인상 공부 매배 온게 레와 아니 뭐 여기 내서 마시면 온게 와 뭐 여기 내서 뒤 아니 지금 가서데 다데데 가서데 다 퇴중을 놓서 많이 받죠. 뭐 여기 내서데 삼중의 고아지 니바 이나. 다 뒤부터 조선민도 고아지 니바 이나. 아니 되네. 아니 제가 가서데 아니 문에 전에 뭐 여기 내서데 내 도도 매바 차원도 아니 내가 니어도 아니 지금 검증을 놓게 전에 다 간제 제가 가서데 탐에도 패줘야 준 거로 와. 용거로 와.
So here it's to understand as well that this refining of all of our actions, all of our actions of body, speech, and mind, our thinking especially, is going to be something that is something so wonderfully beneficial for not just others but for ourselves, not just ourselves but for others. And it's kind of like to really understand this, and it's kind of like really also understanding, be able to distinguish what is of temporary benefit as opposed to what will be of ultimate benefit, and to maybe get used to choosing what is kind of really both beneficial temporarily and ultimately. Of course, at the outset, it's hard. It's hard. Why? Because we have no habituation. That's the only thing that's holding us back, because to choose this mode of action, this way of life, is based on, backed up by valid reasoning, and that it means that because it's backed up by valid reasoning, it can be cultivated to perfection. And it's very important to be able to understand that. And so it's kind of, again, keeping the mind focused on the actuality of the situation, and that to be able to move on from not just the kind of the data that we are gleaning through our learning, to that wisdom arising from just learning, but we're honing that down, we're refining that down, we're gaining conviction in that information through the process of analysis that comes from the wisdom arising from contemplation. And so that's when we start to really make it part of our lives, integrating it into all of our actions. And then through the wisdom arising from meditation, we can bring that to perfection. It increases more and more.
Ngaba Shen Gawa Chewe Peyuni Starwa, Tajigo, Shen Gawa Chewe Peyuni, Zawale, Zomba Tamje, Gachete, Dene Ringi Yonakos, Dede Shenje, Yundenje, Gawe Dewa Jebacha. Dala Dugu Yomela, Pariotuyan Dewache. Neve Mega Dungeshe, Pariotuyan Dungeche.
So the fifth of these subheadings is the benefits of pleasing others. And verses number 77 and 78 deal with this point. All deeds of others are the source of a joy that would be rare, even if it could be bought with money. Therefore, I shall be happy in finding this joy in the good things that are done by others. Through doing this, I shall suffer no losses in this life, and in future lives shall find great happiness. But the fault of disliking their good qualities will make me unhappy and miserable, and in future lives I shall find great suffering.
Taban Rang Lu Na Yisung Kandecheba Sosoge Soyedi Taka Shen Gavechido, Shella Pepatuba, Shella Digi Yongechedo. Or that teacher, that Gasoda Takanjachi, Gasoda Pechutang to Bachura Sungar, Pechutang to Bachigures, Pechuda Rare, Wataka Bena Teba Chamber Church in Jebaina, Semja Tamja to Sanja Gomba to Wings, Sanja Gomba to Wings, Yorba, to Wings, Yorba. Sanja Gomba to the Ganja to Semja Pemba to Vecheto. Sanja Gomba Matuaina, Semja Pemba Touchaba Chetu Mondos, Karsana, Casos Semja Pemba Touchaba Jevala, Tuja Kamda, Meva Samba Para, Neva Chita, was the King of Yova, Nanzes, Gari Jeba in a Semja Dollar Dot Watch. Young to do. That the name is Sanja Gomba Matona Tamintos. That the each to any 먼저 다 제가 가서데 로아타 가자자 제가 소리야 제 가서데 제소 파제 두고 냠래 두영 오버시가 냠래라 소바티게 다 제가 샘제가 두영 주베체 다 제자 제가 샘제가 가와 타투바지 주베체도로 산제 고바 샘제가 가와 타투바지 주베체도로 와 근데 자 란제 고숨게 소바 탐제 란제 고숨게 가리 배전 제바이네 뉴바티게 강사 시행 가와 제베체도 치도데 생가와네 링긴 오다 생가와 용해데 아니 저 문에라네 림바데 제 녀에메 되겠지 녀에메 되겠지 알 학동도 다 땡기 되게 산제 공방의 유튜브에 되게 다 림바데 녀에 거는 요 말과 그노스
And so here, of course, that's kind of like we must use everything at our disposal to bring about benefit for other sentient beings, to please other sentient beings, to bring happiness into other sentient beings. And so here we direct all actions of our body, speech, and mind towards this goal. In particular, of course, in the context of the Mahayana practices that we are engaged in, the objective is to attain enlightenment for all sentient beings. And so here, in terms of this, this is to bring that benefit, that being able to please, that being able to bring happiness to all sentient beings through its natural completion. And so, of course, to be able to do this, we need to have an intimate knowledge of the dispositions, personalities, the karmas of all sentient beings, and indeed the timing involved in engaging in such actions like this. And therefore, the necessity of attaining Buddhahood, of enlightenment, becomes absolutely crucial. This is why we generate the mind of enlightenment meditation, motivation, and engage in the practices of the 6 perfections and the 4 ways of accumulating disciples. It's all for the sake of really kind of honing the skill of benefiting others, of perfecting the benefiting of others, which is only then, perfected. The capacity is perfected when we attain enlightenment itself. And so it's kind of like really, we are in this process here of doing everything we can to please others. And indeed, of course, this is something rare, that even if it could be bought with money, because we're talking about the causes to actually attain the state of enlightenment itself.
So what the Shen Kawachi, Shen Digi, the Takaja, Rinan Jawa Chade, the Rinan Jawa Chade, the name in my insa, and Shen Kawachi, Kawachi, Yunden Gites, Yunden Dubachen, Yunden Gita, Shen get Tato Mebachena, that the Yunden, because of the Shen Kawachi, Yunden, the Dubachen, and Tato Mebache, Gavet Dewala, Jebachi was Gavet Dewa, a jet to watch Jekurs, Jawa Chate. That said, the late Java Tele, and social John was a John Kaya Maris. But let's say the also Tabenachic Tungi Longe Guba Tang, Cuba, Yamba so Cuba, Yonde, Denime, what the nigger Shankawache, the social John Raya Kaya Mara, and it's sitting in Nega get you Longe good to what the neck Kaya Mas Mela. That day, maybe Mate, and ngazo 통주스 도와 지금 미 펜바 쪽에 미 상부 문에다네 가서 쌤 딩내 쪽에 줘라 미그 배는 체딜라 잡아라 미가 가고 지사 차기도 미가 가고 지사 차기도 통해도 다 체표가 있나 다 되네 체 말씀을 체표도 있나 아니 되게 그거 배 주샤와나 시점 소소 제도 심제 샤라 잡아야 돼 이내야 뒤 개와 존에 라를 대화 첨부 용도 했지 세치마 편제 되었네 dobje that to ye talhado da soso kulonda digade and simje tamje do sanje ko bacho chuna sanje jula to twech yongurwa sanje jula to twech yongure to te yongurwa yongures.
And so I think here that through our 3 doors of activity, that we engage in all activities such to please and to benefit others. And that this is something which is rare, even if it could be bought with money. It is in fact priceless because it's creating these causes for enlightenment. And then also when we look at the qualities of others, the others who are engaged in the good things done by others, that's something that we should never have any jealousy towards, but to really kind of enjoy and rejoice in those qualities as well. And so if we think, if I'm dedicating my life towards pleasing others, that will be something that will be to my own detriment in some way or other. And it's kind of pointing out here that if you engage in this kind of full-blooded attitude of wanting to please others and to be of benefit to others, then there will be absolutely no loss, materially to you in this life, and that in future lives you will have a great happiness. So it's kind of like really saying that you are, doing the right thing. It's very important that you understand that. And indeed, in this life, you will be somebody who is very likable as well, of course.
right. Mozo Tonju Duga, Miss Sambota, me, Yarata, and a Mila Pemba to the Michi Quadan, gave a Tamashito, the Shito, the Mikanga Pongo just Miti Yawashi, which is the Pepons Chigua. Mikanga Kawaja the Chatted. That Michi Ramen or some of the Shell and Nova Jagata, and a coach Kame Chabana, Misu Kalcomes or Chagdo, and quite drawing in a what a Yawashi, which also. Those cheetahs were thinking the John the pay away on the US. The legislature you charge over what said the Chachavana. And it said some Benjala Chachavana, what do I chicken and the devil. That naming devil, you think it to what Java you tell us over to me, part of me. Nana was a shag, Nyasongo to Mexico, then they to let the Nyasongo to my young Yorba. Ruata shall and Nobaje, and a shell Ramed or some time, Mebache. And it then che on and chicago the rangi digi to be and shella yabu javan yabu the rangi digi to be and shella pemba to be so java in rangi to that to be the chet and got to make you to take it to one and it was going never general shame over it what and that's that they may shella sata chado and the java that did never said and so the sabaki you was in Mikashe. And doing it, that's said the Layata, Dilatene, and ya, the Capde Chilia, and Mabutu da Dilatene Tungela. That then they get, and then Nimaja gets a share, said Penny, and that they get any Yansong Tungela about Tungachabu Yongo and the Yongo to us. And the Yansong Tungachi, no, I get a mare. The naming it among Yansong like that tea, Java you do that, Yonga you do that, then do ya, check it, then do days leva in there, ya, Dungamabu Yon de Jungo. 동해 망보 영화했다. 동해 모토는 영화 유튜브에 왔다 되게 그가 지금 동해 랜드가 저다데 남인게 저보 아니 다가니 제바 교대 영화 교대 다데 되게도 삼았던 와이나 오호 되게들 군에 디 랑도 예바 장도 와이나 제마도 소줘봐 제마도에서 다다다 참 디사마레 삼삼제 다 영토의 정보로 왔다 영토의 정보로 와 어떤데 근데 이 말씀 미가베 동에 직대 파료도야 아니 동에 첨부 중 용의 교통도 그래서 어떤데
So this is it's quite clear in a kind of worldly sense, isn't it, that you know when you know, that the person who is good, is mannerly, is kind of respectful, is humble, is, you know, all of these kind of really good qualities that they have tried to you know cultivate during their lives. They are again a natural kind of respect by the community in general, and when they die, they are greatly grieved. You know, people feel that there's a great loss to the whole community when somebody so beautiful has passed away like that. And this is often in sharp contrast to somebody who has lived a dissolute life, who has been quite harmful, negative, critical, and so on in their lives, that when they die, there may be some in the community who rejoice, say, oh, thank God they're gone. And thank God they've gone before I am, and so on. And so they kind of like, you know, have the opposite response to their passing. And so there's a beautiful reputation that naturally kind of accrues when somebody is trying to do the right thing, do the virtuous thing, and be of help and benefit to as many as possible. And so that is worth thinking. From our point of view, of course, we are in terms of the person who has died with negativity on their mind stream. Of course, we have to contemplate the drastic results of that and generate compassion, because you know they have the fully ripened result initially to be reborn in a negative realm, and then also the results that are connected with the habitual cause, the causes that are of the kind of actions of causes, and the experiential causes which kind of like are going to tend to send that person into the same sort of behaviors again. And they're going to have to be repeating this. It's going to be more difficult for them to get out of that cycle of negativity, and therefore negative rebirths and so on. And so it's kind of like there's a lot riding on the karma that we accumulate. And so therefore we should be very, very careful about what actions we do that accumulate such karma.
Redor, Casana, Chig, Dajik, Tendeg, Digbachimbosana, Yansona Tawa in it, and a social less and which on the Tendu like Yava in it, and tell you Teletung, and not so much on the Yungudua. Rapenaras Tanda, Marazo Tanda, Casoda Marazo, Misinala Teta. And Dungan Naso Wanyone, and Dugeti, oh, that culture again, Tenetuza Chema, the Mala Tungashu, Yongudu, something Yongudua. Rapena Nana Zayin by the Yat, Ken Shabatin, Susa Pa Panto, and a swimmer get the Yon Tigua. Tatika Panto, what the new Kig Yomarita, in a Kiwangamaki, laying about Sabachi, Tita, because of the Jabaki down, then they yon take your, because of Noak, you did yon take your. Yon take your that Dion, that dilatene, and a condrosa, Maggie Wachene, a tang Yabachene, Panto, but the Yabush, Dingle never killed in a Yabucha, the never kill Marta, in a Kiwangamanga Dibachena, Tuja Chavachi, Tanda de Chavaki didn't. Now, you are getting the Denechik, you want to take your one. And Dilata Yango, Tipasa, and in Yamakola, Mr. Papa, Yabuchava, and the Kavaki. To make it YouTube net, you want to that was told it to what that net did the castle was a chick member is a Thomas member, you want him by the teller, less and not so much a Jenny, you want to take your one. And how don't do that, Penang, me, Lieutenant Penja the Gave Pembarete, and Soxen, me give a talk with the Gavamata, me give a check, Soxen, me give a check, but you don't take your one. You don't take your that didn't leg draw down the trashy trouble some. Shema, they just some down to Ina. And it like Yambasa the Druma to watch. And it to make it take it in a war thing, watch over the Kawanga, but the Tammy Kawajo, that to make the sound in the Druman do us something. Len Yabasa, sound in a Sajuman do us a lender and never shook show when you go to Kogua.
So this goes to the heart of karma, really, isn't it? That you know, when we talk about the negative life, negativities that send us to lower rebirths, our karmas are not finished when we, you know, happen to get out of the lower rebirths and reborn in a say human rebirth again, because we can still meet with a great deal of suffering in that life. We may often be, you know, confused with regard to this, that you know, when we try to lead a good life, yet we suffer a great deal of sickness or other misfortune, and we have to understand that you know, the virtue and the non-virtue that we engage in is not confined to just one life. We have that massive history going back to beginningless time that is still playing out. So, you know, we have we kind of think we lead a good life, we have a good attitude, and yet you know, somebody does us wrong or insults us, and we get angry and say, why are they so negative towards me when I'm trying to do the right thing? And that again, you know, what we're simply doing here is perpetuating that same habitual sense. And this is these particular karmas, you know, the cause related to the habitual tendencies, and the karma related to the experiential causes that are keeping that same ball of negativity rolling for us. And so it's something that we have to be acutely aware of. And that here, you know, that I mean, you know, we can't simply ask the question, why is so much harm coming to me when I'm trying to do the right thing? You have to put it in a much larger, more long-term context, which is necessary in order to get some sort of grip over on karma. And it's here very, very important to understand that, you know, even though we might have a positive rebirth, we might still have very negative completing karma that we have to work through, because that's something that left over from previous lives.
then imbaza shen gawa kewa shen rang lu nga yi sumje and jiga Beijing tamje zoba tamje and shen gawa kewe chedo jegore and di da rinan jaware dele jetona social visit meaningful chaware and dila then kaso the rala dila be ngaje da chado dele meba je pemba tum tegore dile rala yong kaya ra ma yong mara me dene se pebe toba yina ya and jiga 지가서 대화 첨부 토백에 유용을 두고 그랬어. 아니 뭐다 어떤 순구도 채도래. 다 되네 멤버자 딜라베 가서 되네 가와키베 줄라 맞아 랑글 룽아 유서 샤나 네바키 와제 셴 마키 와제 셴 마가 와제 저저마나 아니 체델레 소소 마키 와 세치마베네 동야 빠도베 바다 사람네 살아봐도 동야 왜 주두고래. 다 되네 난주 요마래 되네 지주 요마래 순구도 와 어디래 다 돈다도 또도.
So therefore, what it's saying here is that if we concentrate all actions of our body, speech, and mind, and all efforts of our actions to pleasing others, that this is something which is priceless and totally, the most meaningful thing we can do with our life. And there's no kind of like arrogance involved. There's no jealousy involved in what we're doing. And there can be no loss to engaging in actions like that, but only a great happiness, not just in this life, but you're guaranteed that in future lives as well. Whereas saying the opposite, if you're kind of in this competitive and jealous kind of framework of relating to others, then that's going to make you miserable, not just in this life, but it's going to cause you misery from life to life to life.
다 되네 맞아. 아니 다 소소 제바치고 소소 르가 예숨데 아니 근데질 배주 당도 문에는 심제시야 가와키에 줄을 배주 당도 오 제서 일하자. 와다 야고 지금 중사 못는 지금 있음서. 안디야 타바다 디야 뉴도 산제 고마도 줄이 좋아 쇼스. 다 지금 뭐더나 어디 줄토와 제라 아니 배주 제과지. 어디 말이.
So therefore, again, it's really calling us to do this self-analysis, to really check our own actions of body, speech, and mind. Say, where do I really sit in relation to this? Am I somebody who's dedicated towards pleasing and benefiting others? And that, to also kind of like help us to rejoice in the good actions of others, to really pray that their actions may quickly lead to the state of enlightenment for them as well, just to really adjust our attitudes in this way.
다 지금 문도 나네 아니 오다 제수 이란 그래서 지금 문도는 교습 전에 오다 단에부터 엔틀에 제투에 돌아 아니 배준 지에치 어떻게
to kind of like be, on the one hand, if we're engaged in that in a good way, we're kind of genuine after our checking process to see how the day went. We went well. That's good enough to acknowledge that, to be able to emulate that again the following day. If not, to really have genuine regret where we let ourselves down, and to kind of put a kind of draw a line in the sand there and say this is not going to be repeated tomorrow.
What is it? Until it is
We'll leave it there for today.
Well, so any other day, Rangi, because doing in Nakala, Lama to be almost set up table, what I did, what the channel, Takaja, and Nikasura, and Jachi. That comes from Gutori to Kawakiwa in a Tungela Madeva in Bayinsa, and it did that Tunge le, and Yabatuna, and Yenjun to Combashet. And Rangi Chiwol, intending Yenjun Lotte, Rangi Chiwa Pemata Viajala Joso, some such. And it did. That's just Simja Tamjaka to the Sanja Kumar and Tuba Chicken is teacher and a bed Lojong and Yamne Chicken is in Natikawato Zechu. Natikawato Zechune and Namani Batagaran Gala Sem Shan, then the Kachaka some person, and then they get Lotte, Rangi Chiwo, Casa Pamatabjeti, Tendo, and you make him when Yako to question. That in the Simja Tamjaka to the Sanja Kumar, you do Madame Chimo Toba Chicken, son of Kumbashet. Until and the Tawaj when Yakuan and you may tell to what is now you was compassion.
So then we begin by establishing the appropriate seat on our own crown by first of all contemplating the suffering in all of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, and to really be clear that regardless of where we are born in cyclic existence, we never will get beyond suffering. It's very clear. And so we develop this sense of wanting a definite emergence from that reality, to get out of cyclic existence completely, develop that renunciation, which is symbolized by the lotus mandala on the crown. And then to look into the self, or the I, the person who is engaging in this mind training, to where is this I, where is this self, and to engage in that analysis, looking for this objectively existent self, and arriving at this point of the mere negation of the object of negation. From that kind of void, then we generate the samdisk Susanna crown. And then this aspiration to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, and say, no, I will be the one, I will attain, I must attain that state of enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta. And the moon disk modalities are arising from that. So we complete the seating arrangement on our crown.
And then Rangi Dungin Nagala, and Koso Lama Shaja Sanga set over Tilla, and Sunday Chena Pandesava Lama Ramboche, Tagi Chiwa Pemeteshula, Kadijima Kusu to Jomutu Satuso, then the Sunday Chena, Tambio Kapso Pet, Niba Kapso Shu, Sumek of the Tendushuna, Sunday Kumamato, about the Chess Son Ota Yamashu, so Sankawa.
Then we make the supplication, the invocation to the Buddha in the space in front of us to come and take this seat that we have prepared on our crown. O glorious and precious Lord Guru, come take the lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the space in front. At the end of the second, they arrive at the seat that we have prepared. And at the end of the third recitation, we have the certainty that the Buddha will remain until we ourselves attain a state of enlightenment. This is a very, very pleasing state of affairs, and we rejoice in that.
What are the Rangichuola, or because of the Pemata Jig Tendo and Lamashaja Singe? Tajigo Shune Takaja Sanjay Komato, or Cheso, what is Kawakome, Takanjaj, what is Kombashe, and then Tomba Rala Mine, and Tumbetsanga Tayato Monimus Tayato Jasone, Tombarala, what it is so, and it Tumbe Jiwo Jamba Atuan, Jiwo Le Vesepat, never turn. Vesepato, never turn, and around the Rangitan, Chiwanema, Chotoma, Tibatama, Janso, Luke on the Sabbath, Tibat, Sojo, Majibatun, Sojo, the Maja Mizama, Jobalasobe, Luke on the Sabbath, country, Nani, Dencho Sons of Kumbasha. Nani, Dencho of Kumbasha. What is it? And the mat, what is Kumbasha? And the Tanisha, yeah, Tumbetsanga, and he had Tembe Alami, Tembe Adelami, the to say you part of me about the Randa so that she was Mashuna and the chicken Mashuna and the Kachat Temba and the Mashune. And the Tomam to the Kavato and not going to sabe to Tama Tizung, I get sitting on Sing the Tom to the Nani, don't you some such. Then I took a hole with a part of me or took a hole of me. With a part of me about Gaza Randa took a hole of Tim. And you going to sabe to not send me so long as what Nani, my dentures, what in a conversation.
And at this point also, it can be very good to introduce the following visualization. So with the Shakyamuni Buddha, our own, in essence, our own Guru on our crown, we concentrate on the crown, the Om syllable at the crown of Buddha, from which emanates light rays which enter into our crown and down through our body, completely purifying all negativities associated with physical actions that we have done, such as killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. And we feel that they are completely eradicated from our body-mind system. And then we concentrate on the throat of the Buddha, on our crown, and the light rays emanating from the ah syllable. And that this then goes through our throat, down through our system, and we eradicate completely all negativities that we have accumulated since beginning this time associated with speech. So here we're talking about harsh speech and divisive speech and lying and idle gossip. And again, to have the certainty that they are completely purified from our body-mind system. And thirdly, light emanating from the home syllable at the heart center of the Buddha down into our home at our heart center, again purifying all negativity since beginning this time that we have engaged in through our thinking. And this includes thoughts of covetousness and malicious intent and wrong view. And again, to feel that they are completely purified.
Raja Simja Tamja Kaja Lunga is a Tibata Tibata Martin Chosu Samsacha or the church. And then Dema Duncho Mige Ranga Dungi Satama, but never but to Caso de Takanja by Gene. Denema Nani by Chikuta Sugu Nabasojaban, Nani Martin, Denema. Casa de Sadrama, Twitch and Miguel Sag Ding Ding Ding, the Bama Guzi was make a ding ding, Chitashi Katan, Chitashi Kanaba, Nani, Matwitch of Sadokubashin, Nani, Matwitch, and Chitashi Womame was some subject. And Tanija, don't beg any you want about to go home, Sungala was a toilet dinner, and rather something that you want about to go on my team, Mashu on to, and to Pasha the Java. Dana Kansa the sugar the ranch is a pacha the Java, you want to be Nani Twenchin, and Dinama, Sanama, and Chitashi Kanama, but Mobame was some such. Tipa the two pacha of chances. Danaja Rangi Luda, Semda, De Dungeta, Kangeta, continue in there, they can Nanima Dwench some compassion. Then as a condition when the same Dunga, much of a condition in there, that church to be gauging condition when they can Nani Dwench of some compassion.
So when we do this kind of visualization, we have this kind of comprehensive understanding that all of these negativities related to either body, speech, and mind are completely and utterly eradicated, so that they can have no adverse effect on our capacity to develop all the beautifully conducive qualities to attaining enlightenment and benefiting sentient beings. And so that is kind of something that is very felt very deeply and genuinely for us. And then we complete the meditation by having the purifying nectar lights flowing from the body, speech, and mind simultaneously, and then down into us. This time, we're really targeting all of the imprints of all those negativities. So since beginning this time, and so that those imprints of all negativities of body, speech, and mind are completely and utterly purified, eradicated, so that there's no sense of them altogether, which opens up complete capacity for us to be able to work with, quickly complete the path to enlightenment and benefit sentient beings, and so that in dealing with all this, all of the inconducive conditions, such as sickness and illness, all of that, of the impediments to our being able to facilitate sentient beings are completely removed and eradicated as well.
What is it? What the only Yala do my mandate job, Pino, Sosa, what is it? Banani, don't what in the Kumashet, what is it?
At this point, then, we also offer mandala and the 7-limb practice for accumulating merit and purifying negativities.
What did the Kumashet? And the Naya, the Guinea, Chicaso, the Chicaso, comes to Georgia to call 2 millimeter nearby to Nianjun Kumaset, telling Yanjugo Kumashet running the Pamata to source of the Kumashet.
Then similarly, then at our heart center, we begin to to construct a suitable seating arrangement by again contemplating the in kind of.
Well, Konda, the teacher was what the legend, and then a Chita Shinjig, cut by Mobile Japas, cut time of Chasset, or the Katsum, and the Doji Jadam, the legend, cut time of Chasset, and then Sadamalian, what the Compassetona, and Casole, Sejuk in the fingers that setting the toy that the Keju or so, what the Compassetona.
So, well, yes, this is indeed something that I've forgotten to add in the previous meditation that Ken was describing, is that all of the negativities that we have purified through body, speech, and mind individually, and then comprehensively together, are kind of leaving through the lower part of our body and entering into the open ground below and straight into the upturned open jaws of the Lord of Death. And so they are kind of like it's satisfying the Lord of Death is and we're completely in a way we are completely rid of them. And so at the conclusion of that particular point in the meditation, that the mouth of the Lord of Death closes, it's sealed tightly with a double door J, and then the earth closes over again. And so then we proceed with the visualization of the seating arrangement at our heart center.
And then young and John Combasia, and young Combasia the running the Pama Tabja, some such. And then Chinanga Church and the Shiva in a how don't do any subject of the Sanja doing Lati Kawatu, Zechu, and the money with the Semcha, and then running then because of the that Pama Tabja to a tea, and Nime Kiwanya Kawashi. 교수 삼세 되네 심제 담대도 산자 고만 요관도 마도 토바치기 삼서 고바시 된대게 가서도 딱까지 된대게 둠바데 심제 산자 고만 요관 토바치기 서 된대게 둠바데 한 다외 경원 약강아 교수서 되네 반대서 라마도 다긴인가 배면도 그래 고소도 정보도 자도 수되잖아 안 지월라 라마샤자 생게데 지월은 마전 담배 가서 배 니베 가서 수배 땐 산자 고만 마도 버셔수 안 되네 배마 다제데 마인데 가져 남데 닝내다네 되네 도저 거버 생각을 가지 안디 다고도 뜸배상 다에도 문문으로서 다에도 문문으로서 저버송이 거다 되네 가서도 잠배가 송아 오마라바자나 디디디디디디디디 스코바시 근데 다고도 때내가 예다마 해도라는 거 샤만에 있어 되게 사슴 거를 된 거 어떤데 지 고바시.
And so then, through contemplating the suffering of the 6 realms of existence, we cultivate the mind of renunciation, which is symbolized by the lotus and lotus seat and mandala seat. And then through contemplating that, the fact that all external and internal phenomena lack any objective existence, including the self, and looking into that self and not finding that self and really arriving at that point of really the mere negation of the object of negation. The sun disk mandala symbolizing that wisdom is produced, and then through our wanting to quickly attain the state of enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, that aspiration of enlightenment, that mind of Bodhicitta produces the moon disk mandala seed. And then we again issue the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure of the Buddha on our crown moves down through the crown chakra, down into the central channel. At the end of the second, they arrive at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third recitation, we have the certainty that the Buddha will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment ourselves. We rejoice in that fact. And from that, then the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at the tips by a white vajra. That the leaves, then the petals are surrounded by, enfolded by 3 mantras: the name mantra of Shantideva in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Mantrashri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction.
And then rangi ningu use lama shaja sing never day, and Kuson to you were said training. Rather, Kuson to you were said trainer, were said training, rangi chibone, Gandhi Bolo were said the Tomel divided, but Janshi Tawa Jonsu, Satomel said divided to a Kaba to your Takaja, Socho, Major Misanchoa. Junta was another those Lodala, so that set down Tomel divided with Tabjin Yamja Tanjapa. Janshi Tasso,
And then the light rays begin to emanate from the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha within our heart, sitting at our heart center, and permeating every cell of our bodies from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, and purifying all negativities that we have accumulated since beginning this time, all negativities of body, speech, and mind, of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, of malicious intent and covetousness and wrong view, all negativities associated with this life, the previous lives, and all lives down through the beginning this time, and they are completely purified.
어떤 다른 생각 가서래다 지금 세대한 생각만 통하면 다 같이 소소답에 돈 받을 거와 컨디션을 전주섭에 라바다 거와서 상하게 다치다 거와 컨디션을 다 받아 말로 먹고도 제발 로벨로 먹고 좋아서 뭐좀 구조소를 뇌벨레지와 담배 쥐고 법에 준대로 고하다와 심지어 뇌벨레지 돈나 토리에 타베지 고하는 예동 안다 예동 지저와 참자 장치 담아 중수 장치 담아 중수甚至 하던도 류기 나자 생기 통해 중식 코만여버 잘론 틸레 교역도 잡아 장치다네 아니 하던도 뉴도 산제 고바타발에 견치시는 탐에 나시 탐에 나시 견 탐제 장 간나서에 다바라서 바지 차도 뭐 양고 중수 소소 고마시.
And so this includes, all of the negativities that we have accumulated in this life, other lives, all the vows that we have contravened, be the Patimaksha, the Bodhisattva, the Tantric, the vows, that all of the negativities and disrespect that we have shown to our parents, up to our rules, and all of the negativities that we have done, whether we have done them ourselves, whether we have induced others to do or rejoiced in the doing of, and all negativities that will result in harm to the body, such as illness and disease, and harm to the mind, all of the imbalances in the elements in our body, and in our winds and channels and drops, and in particular it deals with eradicates ordinary view, that which is the greatest obstacle to our quickly attaining the state of enlightenment, and it is replaced with pure view.
Lama Shaja Sang good Henji Chicken Channel, Soju Luda Lama Shaja Sang Kula Jusu, Tagi, Sozu Shindo Travel Sunday, Lama Shaja Sang to the Henji Chicken, Sozu Sin the Lama Shaja Sang Tula Jusu, some such Rangel Lunga is on Lama Shaja Sang Kuzon, Nima Jusu, so Muna Kura Jusa Kumbasha, De Dewat, De Tomba Tedonism, Shikasu, Sozu Kumbasha, Ran Yasagi, Neti and Negi, Gyontabet, Lama Shaja Sang Tawi Shindu Jusu, so Kumbasha.
And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And I see my own body, speech, and mind as being indistinguishable now from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. And this brings forth a sense of bliss in the mind, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the non-dual wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And similarly, the place that I am in also is transformed from its ordinary state into the enlightened abode of a Buddha.
Ran Lama Shaja Sang Kul Tuati, Nala Rashima was Kumbasha, Nala Rashima was Kumbasha, and Nala Rashima was Tugale, and Lama Shaja Sang Padu Meba Tune, and a Taibe Magia Simja Tanja Lapa Tim, Tiga Nala Rashima Kumbasha. There's a try to get Nala Rashima Kumbasha, Timaltena, Simja Tata Tamjagi, and Kyonkusa Yunde Kunde the Juna, Lama Shajas and Kuson to the Woyime Josu. Simja Deta Tanjag Nesage and Joari took a Netica, Nutica, New Kyontaja Ten, and Lama Shajas and the Tavishin to Josu, some such. What does Simja Tamjag turn to be said the Nima did to Sona Kaoko. Kaoko. And the day just Simja Tamja Sanja Goba, teach the Jawakan Tuba, Teda Tugan, and Kasota Rani the Jabanga, and you then the Majuba, Pata Samre, some tea the water, Tomba, tea the water, the Tomba, the Telunis way, she just so Kumacha.
And seeing myself as a fully enlightened being, and also understanding that I'm lacking any inherent existence, I send out light rays from my own heart center, countless light rays equal in number to all the sentient beings in all realms of existence. And as these light rays dissolve into the sentient beings, they are completely relieved of all fault, and they are endowed with every good quality brought to its perfection, and they arise as completely fully enlightened Buddhas. The place that they are in also is completely cleansed of all fault, and is transformed into the enlightened abode of Buddha. And from that, then I can really rejoice that I've really done the job of it, and leading all the sentient beings to that state of enlightenment today. That is really something worth rejoicing in. I also realize that this action of leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that process, and I myself as the agent of that virtue, lack any objective existence and are merely imputed by thought. From that understanding, I gain the sense of bliss which combines with voidness, and I abide again in the wisdom of knowing pure bliss and voidness.
Tanda Moto, Meva Yichit Samre, the Muna Kuratin, the Lelabusta Kana Yute, Yina, what are the little Kombasheva Nation, some of the Tawan Nation, Muna Kura, and a data get new to Turege, and 2 years again the Tureki shows.
And so that, of course, this is only operating at the level of imagination now. Of course, can't be that easy, but certainly from this position, we can make a very profound and sincere dedication that I will do whatever I possibly can to quickly make this manifest for real. And indeed, in doing so, to identify all the conducive conditions that will facilitate that, and the inconducive conditions that must be eradicated in order to smooth that process. So I make that pledge to do that as quickly as possible.
Warai Shoi Kangria Ravi Kowe Shingamandia Pandan Dewa Malu Chove Jere Tenzen Yazo Ye Shabian Sutia Bab Dian Yoroi Jeoi Meoi Meoi
You are Avalokiteshvara, a great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Geshe, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Rajapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception. Kontapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snow, Losang Drakpa at your feet and request.
That's all. No, thank you very much.